The grass does not move at first, even when the wind passes through it. What draws attention is the stillness beneath it, a shape that should have shifted long before now. The lioness lies on her side, ribs rising shallowly, each breath delayed as if effort is required to pull it from the air. Her body carries the heavy curve of pregnancy, the weight settled low, pressing her into the earth. Nothing about her posture suggests rest. It suggests endurance. The rangers notice her because the landscape around her continues as normal. Insects lift and settle. Distant birds break the silence with brief calls. Somewhere farther off, other lions move, unseen but present. The contrast sharpens the wrongness. A lioness close to birth would normally seek seclusion, but she would not lie exposed like this, nor allow flies to gather so closely along her flank. Her tail remains still, dust clinging to its dark tuft. They approach slowly, not from caution alone but habit. Years in the field teach restraint before urgency. Binoculars come up first, then lower again. One ranger watches the lioness's chest, counting the long seconds between breaths. Another notes the tension in her hind legs, the slight tremor that runs through her abdomen and then fades. There is no thrashing, no attempt to rise. Only a quiet persistence, as though the body has chosen the smallest movements it can survive with. A decision begins forming without words. Intervention is not the default here. Wild animals are left to their own outcomes unless something has clearly crossed a line where suffering outweighs interference. The rangers do not speak immediately. They listen, watch, and wait, giving time for certainty to arrive on its own. It comes slowly in the form of details that refuse to be ignored. The lioness lifts her head once, just a few inches, and lets it fall back into the grass. Her ears twitch, responding to sounds she no longer has energy to track. When she exhales, a low sound escapes her throat, not a call, not a warning, simply air pushed through a tired body. Her eyes remain open, unfocused, the amber dulled by exhaustion. One ranger shifts closer and lowers his voice. "She's not right," he says, barely louder than the wind. No one disagrees. There is no rush to act, but the stillness becomes heavier now, weighted with responsibility. They know the risks of approaching a lioness, especially one carrying cubs, but they also know the risks of doing nothing. They circle carefully, keeping distance, watching for any sign of aggression or fear. There is none. The lioness does not track them. Her attention stays inward, drawn by whatever strain is holding her down. The grass parts slightly as her belly tightens, then relaxes again. Time stretches in these moments, each minute measured by breath and silence. The first decision is small. They mark the location, call in details, request guidance. No heroism enters the thought process. Only concern, shaped by experience, and a recognition that this scene does not belong to chance alone. As they wait, one ranger kneels, steadying himself, eyes never leaving her chest. When the sun lowers a fraction, light softens across the savanna. The shadows lengthen, brushing the lioness's body with cooler air. She exhales again, slower this time, and the grass bends gently around her form. Somewhere far away, a herd moves, the sound carried faintly on the wind, while here, everything holds still, waiting. The rangers remain where they are, watching light fade, knowing night will arrive whether they act now or not together. The heat presses down more firmly now, no longer a distant presence but a weight that settles into muscle and bone. The lioness stirs as the air thickens, her body answering something urgent and unwelcome. She draws her legs beneath her, paws digging into the dry soil, and for a moment it seems she might stand. Her shoulders lift, tremble, then falter. Dust rises around her chest as she sinks back, breath broken into short, uneven pulls. A contraction moves through her abdomen, visible beneath the skin, a slow tightening that arrives too soon. Her tail flicks once, not in irritation but reflex, and her ears flatten briefly against her head. The effort costs her. She remains still afterward, sides heaving, eyes closing for a few seconds longer than before. The flies return almost immediately, settling along her muzzle and belly, undisturbed. From a distance, the rangers adjust their position. Vehicles stay back, engines silent. This part cannot be rushed or crowded. One man steps away from the others and begins forward on foot, alone by design. He moves at a measured pace, boots lifting and setting down with care, angling slightly so his approach does not cut directly toward her face. Every step is calculated, not to assert presence but to minimize it. The risk is not theoretical. The pride could return at any moment, drawn by sound or scent. Cubs, once born, would sharpen that danger further. The man knows this, but he also knows the lioness's condition is slipping beyond observation alone. Heat shimmer blurs the air between them, and sweat traces a slow path down his back as he closes the distance. The lioness attempts to rise again. Her front legs straighten this time, joints locked stiffly as she shifts her weight forward. For a breath, she holds herself upright, head low, spine curved. Another contraction tightens through her, stronger now, and her hindquarters buckle. She drops back into the grass with a dull thud, a soft sound forced from her throat as air leaves her lungs. The man stops immediately. He does not advance while she struggles. He waits, hands loose at his sides, posture open and still. The waiting matters. It tells her nothing new is pressing in. When she settles again, when her breathing slows enough to count, he takes one more step. Closer now, details sharpen. The lioness's coat is dull with dust, the fur along her belly darkened with sweat. Her breathing carries a faint rasp, the rhythm uneven. Her eyes track movement weakly, not fixing on him, but aware. Another contraction comes, shorter this time, but sharper. Her claws extend briefly into the soil, gripping, then release. "It's okay," the man says quietly, the words barely carried beyond his own chest. The sound is not meant to comfort in a human sense, only to signal steadiness. The lioness's ears flick toward him, then relax again. He lowers himself slowly, keeping distance, bringing his body closer to the ground. The posture reduces threat, allows time. Behind him, the savanna stretches wide and exposed, no cover from heat or attention. The wind shifts, carrying the faint scent of other lions from far off, enough to remind but not yet warn. Another effort passes through her body, longer than the last. She exhales through it, a deep, strained breath that empties her chest. When it ends, she does not attempt to rise again. Instead, her head lowers fully into the grass, eyes half-lidded, conserving what strength remains. The man stays where he is, balanced between nearness and restraint, listening to her breathing and the low movement of grass around them. Dust drifts and settles again, and somewhere beyond sight, the land continues its quiet motion, unaware of how narrow the margin has become. The sound arrives first as vibration rather than noise, a low movement carried through the ground before it reaches the air. It rolls across the plain in uneven pulses, distant but unmistakable. The lioness hears it immediately. Her head lifts from the grass, neck muscles tightening as her ears turn toward the horizon. The effort is deliberate, careful, as though she is weighing the cost of every motion. Another contraction passes through her body, weaker than the ones before but no less draining. Her breathing stutters, then steadies again, shallow and controlled. She does not rise. She does not retreat. Instead, she remains where she is, eyes fixed in the direction of the sound, reading distance and intent from something only she can fully measure. The man hears it too. He does not look back. He does not move away. His body stills further, becoming part of the quiet rather than a disruption of it. The risk sharpens now. A nearby pride changes everything. Yet leaving abruptly would carry its own danger, sudden movement far more likely to provoke than patience. He adjusts his position by inches, slow enough that the motion barely disturbs the grass. The work he does is minimal, careful touches meant to ease strain rather than solve it. He watches the lioness's breathing, timing his movements between contractions, withdrawing his hands when her muscles tense. There is no attempt to control her, only to reduce what little pressure he can. The roars come again, closer this time, layered now with the low-contact calls of multiple lions. The sound spreads wide, bouncing across the open land. The lioness's tail flicks once, then stills. Her gaze shifts briefly to the man, not sharply, not in warning but in assessment. Her eyes are clear in that moment, alert despite exhaustion. She could strike if she chose to. Even weakened, the power remains. The distance between them is small enough that instinct alone would be enough. Instead, she watches. Her breathing slows further, each inhale drawn with effort, each exhale released through parted jaws. A soft sound leaves her chest, not directed outward, simply the body working through pain. The man remains quiet. He lowers his head slightly, keeping his eyes averted from her face, offering no challenge. "Easy," he murmurs once, barely audible. The word dissolves into the heat before it travels far. The lioness does not respond in any visible way. She does not relax, but she does not tense either. The pause stretches, fragile and precise, held together by restraint on both sides. Around them, the grass shifts with the wind, brushing against her flank, stirring dust into the air. Flies lift and settle again, undisturbed. Another contraction moves through her, stronger than the last. Her body tightens, abdomen drawing inward as her paws press into the soil. She exhales sharply, then slowly, the sound thinning as the effort passes. When it ends, she does not immediately lift her head. She rests it back into the grass, eyes still open, watching from beneath lowered lids. The roars fade slightly, not gone, but repositioned, drifting laterally across the plain. The pride is moving, not closing yet. The lioness tracks the sound without lifting her head, ears adjusting with subtle precision. The man senses the shift and allows his shoulders to ease by a fraction. In this narrow space, something settles between them. It is not comfort, not familiarity. It is an agreement shaped by necessity. Neither will force the moment beyond what it can hold. The lioness allows his presence without acceptance. He accepts her limits without expectation. The heat continues to press down, the air thick and unmoving. Time slows to the rhythm of her breathing and the distant calls that rise and fall beyond sight. Between those sounds, in the quiet she permits, the fragile balance holds, and the land waits to see what will follow. The first shapes appear through the grass as movement rather than form, tall backs cutting shallow lines against the horizon. Then heads rise, manes catching the light, shoulders rolling with controlled force. The pride does not arrive all at once. It gathers, spreads, closes space without sound. Males move to the outer edge first, heavy and deliberate, their presence shifting the air. Females follow, leaner bodies taut, eyes fixed on the lioness in the grass. The man registers them without turning fully. His body reacts before his thoughts do, muscles tightening, weight shifting back. He knows the moment has reached its edge. There is no calculation left to make. Retreat now is the only option that remains intact. He brings his hands back toward his body slowly, keeping them visible, careful not to break the stillness he has worked to preserve. The lioness lifts her head again, higher this time. Her ears turn toward the approaching lions, reading each step, each breath. She does not rise. She does not call. Her body remains grounded, wide against the earth, as another contraction begins to build. It comes stronger than the last, longer, drawing a low sound from her chest as her abdomen tightens deeply. The pride closes into a wide arc, not rushing, not hesitating. Their attention is sharp, but it is not fixed on the man alone. It shifts constantly between him, the lioness, and the ground beneath her. The females hold back slightly, tension visible in the line of their spines. One male steps forward a pace, head low, eyes steady. The man takes a slow step backward. He does not run. He does not turn his back. Every movement is deliberate, meant to signal withdrawal rather than fear. He expects the moment to break now, expects sound or motion to explode outward. It does not. The lioness exhales hard as the contraction crests. Her body bears down, muscles working with focused strain. Her tail lifts slightly, then stills. Another breath follows, deeper, steadier. The effort sharpens, then resolves. In the grass beneath her, something shifts, subtle but unmistakable. A small body emerges, dark and wet against the dust, slipping free with a soft sound that is almost lost beneath her breathing. The lioness lowers her head immediately, nose touching the ground, scenting. She remains still for a long second, breath held, then releases it slowly. The pride reacts at once, but not with violence. The nearest female step closer, heads lowered, movements precise and contained. The male stops advancing. His posture changes, tension redistributing, no longer aimed outward. The circle holds, but its energy shifts inward, drawing around the lioness rather than pushing against what stands beyond her. The man freezes where he is. He does not move another step. He barely breathes. The lioness nudges the newborn once with her muzzle, a careful motion, then again, firmer. The small body responds with a faint movement, limbs drawing in. The lioness is breathing even slightly, her focus narrowing fully now. The world contracts to what lies in front of her. One of the females approaches to within a few body lengths and stops. She lowers herself into the grass, eyes on the cub, ears forward. Another follows, then another, forming a quiet presence rather than a barrier. The male turns his head briefly toward the man, assessing, then looks away again, attention redirected. The man takes that moment. He eases backward, step by measured step, until the grass thickens between them. No one follows him. No sound marks his departure. The pride closes the space he leaves behind without urgency, body settling, forming shade and shelter around the lioness and her cub. As the sun sinks lower, light softens across the plain. The grass moves gently around the gathered lions, and the air carries only quiet breath and distant wind. At the center, the lioness lowers herself fully, her body curved protectively, while the pride rests into stillness around her, the land returning to its slow, watchful calm. Dawn arrives without ceremony, light thinning the dark rather than breaking it. The savanna shifts color slowly, grass lifting its heads as cool air moves through. Where the pride had gathered hours before, bodies begin to stir. Muscles stretch. Heads lift. The night stillness loosens its hold. The lioness rises carefully, testing her weight before committing to it. Her movements are slower than usual, but they are controlled now, no longer burdened by the earlier strain. She stands with her legs braced wide, breathing deep, the rhythm steadier than it had been since the day before. Beneath her, the grass parts and settles again, concealing what she guards. The cub remains hidden, pressed close, its presence known only by the way the lioness adjusts herself, angling her body to shield and steady. She lowers her head once, nose brushing downward, a brief check guided by scent and touch. The small form shifts faintly, then stills. Around her, the pride gathers without sound. Females rise first, their movements fluid, eyes scanning the plain as the light grows. One male stands apart, facing outward, mane lifting slightly in the breeze. There is no tension now, only awareness. The danger that sharpened the night has receded with the dark. They begin to move as one, not hurried, not cautious. The lioness steps forward, pauses, then steps again, each motion measured to keep the cub close and protected. The others adjust instinctively, tightening their formation just enough to obscure what travels at the center. Grass bends beneath their passage and springs back behind them, leaving no clear trace. From a distant rise, the man watches. He has not moved closer. He did not need to. His presence remains light on the land, a quiet witness rather than a mark left behind. He stands still, binoculars lowered, hands resting loosely at his sides. In the growing light, the lions blend with the landscape, their colors pulling them back into the savanna as if they had never paused there at all. The pride moves steadily east toward thicker grass and shadowed ground where the day will warm more slowly. The cub stays unseen, carried in scent and shape rather than sight. The lioness does not look back. Her focus stays forward, body aligned with the others, strength returning with each step. The man exhales once, a long breath he had not realized he was holding. He does not speak. There is nothing to add to what has already passed. The distance between him and the pride widens naturally, without effort from either side. As the sun clears the horizon, its light spills across the plain, catching the edges of grass, warming the dust. Birds begin to move, calls threading softly through the air. Somewhere far off, a herd shifts direction, hooves stirring the earth. The lions disappear into the taller growth, forms dissolving into movement, then into nothing at all. The place where they had been stands empty now, grass unmarked, air undisturbed. The savanna closes around the moment without acknowledgement, holding it briefly before letting it fade. Only the wind remains, moving through the grass, carrying with it the quiet knowledge that life has passed through here and gone on as it always does.